Hi, I'm Phil from SwiftCase. This is my second video in the series on biases in business, and it's on the Dunning Kruger effect. So, have you ever bought a piece of IKEA furniture and thought you could construct it without the instructions? And if so, how did that go? Now, if you've ever done anything like this before, where you've thought, I can do this, I've got this, and you've had undue confidence only to fall flat on your face, then you may be suffering from something called the Dunning Kruger effect. Now, Dunning and Kruger were scientists who, a few decades ago, noticed this tendency in some individuals to overestimate their ability by many, many orders of magnitude than the actual reality in their ability. The famous example they used was that of a bank robber who squirted lemon juice on his face, then proceeded to attempt to rob banks, thinking that the lemon juice would render him invisible to the security cameras in the banks. The kind of spurious reasoning behind this was that lemon juice was involved in invisible ink, therefore invisibility would be transferred to him if he used lemon juice. This is obviously a hilarious misconception, but there may be similar misconceptions being held by yourself about a number of things that just haven't been tested, and that you sort of blissfully wander through life believing that you have. Now, one of the things that I used to think when I was much younger was that I had a photographic memory, and I've made videos about this kind of delusion, and I believe that this kind of false attribution of ability is kind of part and parcel of this Dunning Kruger effect, and that we all suffer it to some degree or other, or have done. But overestimating your ability is not the only characteristic of this effect. Not only do you overestimate your own skill, you underestimate other people's skills, and fail to appreciate the contribution that other individuals have made, maybe in a group project or in something else, or even something completely unrelated in another field, and yet your sort of envy prevents you from recognizing that they have skill, and that only you yourself really have, the ultimate, perfect skill set. Another characteristic of the Dunning-Kruger effect is that the sufferer does not recognize or acknowledge that they've made mistakes or been inconsistent in any way. The fourth, but no means final, characteristic is braggadocio, or being arrogant and boastful about your skills. So not only do you overestimate them, you boast to others openly about your skill. If you've listened to these four characteristics, there may be particular individuals in your mind that check all these boxes. The trouble with the Dunning-Kruger effect is that if you don't suffer from it, you're more likely to underestimate your skill level. Or if not underestimate your skill level, overestimate others' ability relative to yours. Other than diagnosing current presidents, how can this be useful for business? Well, I think looking out for potential employees or even bosses, if you're applying to a company who suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect, is a good measure or good barometer of whether you're going to be, that employee is going to be a good fit, or whether you're going to enjoy yourself in a company. An interview process is valuable because in a way it helps you to weed out those that may be unjustifiably boastful about their skills as an employee, and it also may be a way as a potential employee for you to find out whether the people that are interviewing you are boastful or arrogant about their achievements. So it's a two-way street. People that suffer from Dunning-Kruger, just like any other extreme individual, like an extreme sociopath or narcissist, they can be damaging and toxic to the environment in a business. And it's important to, if possible, minimize or exclude these kinds of people in your workplace to have a successful and happy workplace. The interview will be useful as well to establish whether somebody who definitely doesn't suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect, has downplayed their abilities, and that maybe needs coaxing out about some of their skills and transferable abilities. Research demonstrates that women tend to underestimate their abilities and achievements relative to men, and that downplaying may be something that happens in the CV that may need to be investigated in an interview, just to make sure that you're not letting the best candidates slip away because they're too humble, effectively. The final lesson really is that clients can suffer from this, and a client who suffers from the Dunning Kruger effect will be more likely to blame the person providing the service, i.e. you, for issues that may be totally related to the client's inability to understand something they believe themselves an expert in. And in many ways, these kinds of clients are best avoided, rather than constantly playing cat and mouse with blame and culpability when things inevitably will, at some point, go wrong. Okay, so that's it for me on this episode on biases in business. That was the Dunning Kruger effect. If you know anyone, or you think you have suffered at any point, then let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And tune in next time for the third in the series, which will be on the Drake effect.